Taurus, let's have a look at this month and what is coming up in the stars for you. Join us to see what the psychic energy, astrology, and tips to guide you through. For those of you that are new, a very warm welcome. Let's see how July is going to go. I'm sure many of us can really relate to the last 3 months have been pretty hectic. There is given reasons for it. We did move through 2 eclipses and nodes this month are set to shift. We also had Pluto moving back into the house of Capricorn, which has been a large cycle, and in total it will be 20 years. So it has felt quite bogged down, and it's quite heavy at the moment because it's at the critical degree, and that will link to a certain area inside your chart, which I will interpret and tell you where it's going to hit. Separately, last month we did have Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces move retrograde, and I will also link to that of how that's going to impact you, as well as what the 5 trends are this month. Now, we do go into the update very much to give you the 5 energies that is occurring at this point in time during the month. To simplify it, of the key areas. Number 1 is we are going to have a full moon in Capricorn on the 3rd of July. The mentioning of Pluto moving back into Capricorn last month is for that given reason. It can be an intense time, and I'll give you the tips and explain how it's going to impact your zodiac sign. We also will have the new moon in Cancer, which is Capricorn's shadow sign, on the 17th of July. We then do have Venus moving into shadow from the beginning of the month. Now, a Venus retrograde, interesting one. I'm going to give you the tips for that. It will move retrograde as of the 23rd of July. So any do's and don'ts, any themes that can come up, and then definitely both relating to marriages, contracts, partnerships, as well as where it's hitting you, especially because you're a Venus sign. And north nodes have been sitting for 18 months, ripening up. Jupiter also in Taurus moved in. So that for you is going to be a very unique one. I'll have some tips for you there. Separately, whatever we were dealing with the south node, we can now gain some changes and success. And I do definitely feel, because it's Scorpio in nature, the south node currently, definitely because Pluto's there, they're going to be larger changes than we think. We are, from the 12th, going to have a new nodal cycle. That tends to set the theme for the next 18 months. It's an energy point that is calculated, and we do have themes that play out. So if you look back to 2020, it was almost, we were quite codependent on governmental systems. It was because the south node was in the house of Cancer, which is on the screen. We really do have, between the 2 moon axes, very similar energy, Capricorn and Cancer. So this could be juicy. Last but not least, we do have Chiron in Aries moving retrograde as of the 23rd, which is going to be quite unique to our new nodal cycle. That will be the north node in Aries and the south node in Libra, which is a Venus sign. So what does this all mean? Let's dive into it. First point of call, everything I've mentioned, I'm going to cover and give you example points of how this for you as an individual can affect you. Also, you can go onto astroseek.com and type in AstroSeek birth chart. Typing in your date of birth, if you know your time, which is really critical. If you don't, place unknown. It's going to give you a rough guide as to where those placements are. Then as it pulls your chart, move over to the right and select planet positions. And it's going to give you the house systems and where each of these land. And each one can be broken down. However, if you do need help, you can come through and book a reading, and I can read it for you, because it's really going to dictate where these things over the next 2 years and beyond are going to deeply impact you. But I will simplify such and try to explain it to you. After I talk about the transits, I'm then going to go into your romance house, your career, your wealth, your wellness, and any tips I feel you need in these areas this month and beyond. So with this full moon in Capricorn, again, moon can relate to emotions. Full moons are very intense. We do have Pluto in the house of Capricorn, and we're having the full moon. And you can look to hierarchy systems. I do really feel a lot of us emotionally and physically are going to be looking at what has restricted us. What belief systems do we hold inside ourselves? As is occurring on the 3rd, it can be intense moving into it. And we may need to give things a little bit of time, not to be overreactive. And there is a risk of such. This does connect to your 9th house. So there can be a circumstance. And so these don't have to be negative things. Sometimes an ending physically can be a turning of events that occurs in these locations. One can be value. One can be siblings. So it can be siblings, travel, education, advertising. It's your 9th house. This also can be to do with if you are training other individuals or if you're physically finishing a course, but it can be also your spiritual beliefs, your values, religion, okay? Something is peaking in this area for you. You could be finalizing a chapter and beginning a brand new one, but it will be within the 9th house. So if you did have conflict with a sibling, or you were wanting to travel, or you were working at a distance, for instance, or had quite a large circumstance that you were undertaking, you may find at this time it can end and something new can start. We also can look to the 9th house as litigation. Again, I cannot give you legal advice, but I'm giving you example factors of how the housing systems can directly work in the chart. So something definitely is coming to a head for a brand new chapter. And again, it can be very much an eye-opener because the 9th house can be quite spiritual. So if you did have a very firm belief, especially in the mix with Mars in the house of Leo, we've also got the Sun in the house of Cancer until the 23rd of July, where it then shifts into the house of Leo. So you're kind of going to have this notion that can be a little bit fixed initially, but Pluto is going to ask you to really go into the depths, to review things and see your subconscious mind. So some of this can be psychological things, emotional things, how your environment is directly impacting you. You also can make up with individuals. You can decide to go to a different location. You definitely can be more inclined to be open-minded when it comes to food. You may be during this moon cycle more attracted to spicy food, more attracted to this can be anything down to astrology, interest in astrology, interest in esoteric or philosophy. So don't be surprised if you have this new comprehension. It can be quite a light bulb moment for you. Very transformative nevertheless, but you also, in a directional sense, may be thinking about your future and that it's going to change quite radically. And I do really predict over the next 6 months for you, such as so. Now, as we move into the new moon in Cancer, it is a new chapter, but anytime we have a new beginning, we have an ending. So it's like both happen simultaneously through each cycle. This new chapter can be to do with a contract. So some of you may sign a lease. Some of you could get a new vehicle. Some of you could have a deep conversation that can be deeply important. It also could be this revelation that you are changing your patterns inside your life, the way you eat, the way you relate, the way you feel. But I definitely see your day-to-day routine shifting up a notch. Jupiter, however, in the mix, being in your 1st house, cannot open your horizons. And we don't tend to deem Jupiter as a bad thing, but depending on where it hits in a person's chart, it is going to be there till next year. It expands things. So you may need to be cautious about consumption. And one way to counteract the vibration of Jupiter, which trust me, I've been through this myself and I know what happens, is to wear loose clothing. So that energy of expansion goes directly into a physical environment, or it goes into your resources and money over us alone. But you can be extremely busy, especially working hard. Now, it does give you lady luck and blessings, but the other thing it does is it opens the doors for you to seize the opportunities. It doesn't give them to you on a platter. So it's opportunities going to come to you. They're going to keep moving towards you. And you definitely can have new feelings really coming up around then. I would say we can, at an emotional level with the moon in Cancer, really good time to journal, really good time to be aware of how People, places, and things can directly emotionally, physically, psychologically affect us. Again, this isn't a counseling. And therefore, can it affect the way we deal with that stress level? So, being aware of that, but definitely it could be a brand new chapter for you that could be extremely exciting. This contract could be for a home, could be for a car. It also, like I said, chance meetings with individuals, very social, deep conversations with loved ones, and or signing of any sort of contract really at this time. I still would give it a few days. I do feel it's key to not be emotional while making critical decisions, and especially because we will be by this stage so close to Venus moving retrograde. Read all fine print. As mentioned, Venus retrograde, it is going to be in the house of Leo till and it's going retrograde of the 23rd. However, it will be in shadow from the beginning of the month. So how can we deal with Venus moving retrograde in Leo? A is to know that our value systems are going through a reconstruction. So you may like hot chocolate before you go to bed, and you may find at the end of this transit that you hate hot chocolate. So what we think we are going to like, and I'm going through one of those Venusian situations at the moment, and it is to do with, okay, especially because Pisces can relate to pets. It may be, do we get a pet? Do we not get a pet? Do we like this breed? Do we not like that breed? And the funny thing was, in pondering this conundrum as recording these videos, it's not that we are in Venus in shadow yet. However, the month prior, we did have Venus and Leo, and I have tended to see these conundrums coming up a month before. So could we directly look at it in shadow already? Possibly so. So those things can be changes of mind, changes of heart, changes of value systems. You alone are a Venus energy. This also can be in your daily routine, your home, your physical environment. I wouldn't be surprised if you want to buy new goods, or if you feel you just don't directly relate to them. The money that you spend on food, resources, this could be electricity, those subjects can come up. You also may feel misunderstood during this time, and it can be a great deal of healing that comes through in your life when negotiating also between the beginning of the month, it going retrograde on the 23rd, and going direct on the 4th of September. It's still going to remain here in the house of Leo till October the 8th. This is where we can really iron those creases out in love, in contracts, in value systems, in our feelings to do with these things. And it won't matter whether you are a male or a female, it's still going to impact you. We can look at the collective level to trade, money, values, beauty, love, heart, because Leo can relate to heart, children. And we will see lots of subjects coming up to do with these areas: kings, queens, superiors, managers, direction in life, strength. What we can have is it goes direct, crosswise with these resources, or delays in these resources coming through. So when could that happen? It could happen during the transit. We do tend to find, especially from a planting by the moon energy, is that during a Venus retrograde, you really want to prepare your plants well and truly before the 23rd. So giving them the nutrition, looking after them, making sure they're pest free prior to that time, because they can deteriorate through the Venus retrograde. So be aware of that, protecting your crops, protecting your garden, and really caring for it so it can sustain that Venus retrograde. So there can be difficulties with resources, but usually you tend to see it in the month as it goes direct. Separately, the do's and don'ts. The one thing I would say is I would protect one's safety. We do tend to have some very interesting things that happen. I do believe here in Australia, there was something on the news many moons ago, I think it was last year, and I did do a reading based on it, because I am a psychic medium, and the bonus is we also can use the benefits of astrology in understanding how the stars and planets directly work. For instance, when Mercury is retrograde, things that are hidden are found. Pluto also can uncover things. Saturn and Pisces, for instance, can link to water. So my tip for this point in time is be vigilant with your children and your safety, be it feminine or masculine. We can have some strange individuals out there. So being security conscious for your home, definitely, because we do have Leo transiting your fourth house, with your home, with your children, with your environment, with your security online, with the way you are investing in things. Read all the fine print, know what you're getting into. And I really would wait. I would probably do more the experimental element of things over making very final decisions. So this could be moving house. This could be buying something during, that's really substantial during a Venus retrograde. It's not to say that you won't love it after. There just could be some hidden details that can be quite costly financially. So you want to go more towards the experimental things. So an example of that could be, I'm wanting to color my hair purple, and you've always had, say, beautiful blonde hair. And at the end of it, you're kind of like, good grief, why did I do that? Very common for you to change your taste. So, or cutting your hair and you've got extremely long hair and you shave it off. Those are the moments you don't want to do those extremities. So a way to override that is to go into that experimentation, maybe with temporary colors and wigs and testing styles out, and especially with the home-based energy. This also will be love, how you relate to your loved ones, how you feel about these circumstances. Is it a personal thing? Have you directly evolved? And this can also be a beautiful time for reconciliations, but really to renegotiate those terms and reconstruct. I also feel that the best is yet to come. There's a reason we have to go through this. Be aware of the tips. The other thing is, Mars at the moment is in the house of Leo. It is going to be there till the 10th of July. Yet again, quite a lot of activity around your confidence, your feelings, what you do. This is going to impact those of you in connections, point blank zero. Home-based businesses, very active energy. Could you have frustration with Mars in that position? Yes. Is Mars and Venus really linking up in the sky? Not 100%. So we may not be seeing completely eye to eye at this point. This is one way it can play out. The other thing is, as Mars does transition into the house of Virgo, we're going to want the detail. Now, Virgo, depending on where it falls in a person's chart, it is very intellectual. This can be very Chiron, higher heart chakra. Virgo can relate to in the collective nurses. It can relate to your heart chakra, bookkeeping, analytics, details, quality control, health. So Mars in this place can be how to boost our immunity. We can be getting burnt out, but we also could be a little bit critical. Now, the one positive way it could happen is we are thinking before we're reacting and getting the detail, but quick intellectual thinking. That's one positive way it can come about. It is going to be in your fifth house. So there is a possibility of crossness. Okay. That crossness can come through due to stress and a person not understanding the other party's point of view. So try to have some patience with that. It should ease up. Now, the nodes. As mentioned, we did have the South Node in Scorpio, the North Node in Taurus. Lots of changes for you. You will feel maybe you can look to the past now, and your actual romantic sector, especially with this moon, is definitely going to be pretty active. The other thing is the North Node in Aries coming and the South Node in Libra for you is endings and new beginnings, but it's almost like you having faith and moving forward. I definitely have gone into this further. I'm going to interpret it. So it can be coming into the dream state. It also could be your emotions, your psyche, your belief systems, your fear to do with new beginnings and change. This sixth house is your routine and getting out of a rat race. Sometimes we're in a comfort zone. Sometimes it could be an element where we are directly in a physical routine. And with it going to the South Node, universe is actually going to give you a different way of living. At times with the 12th house, we can isolate ourselves. Now, this can be through avoidance. Sometimes it can be us working towards our dreams and, us actually directly going into the mind, clearing the clutter, creating things, manifesting things. This could be coaching, therapy, counseling for you or another energy. This could be the house of the undoing, theoretically, when we are getting stuck in our mind and too afraid. However, Chiron this month will help us, especially for your zodiac sign. Anything in that vault that you need to clear to give yourself a new beginning, they're saying your routine could be helping you avoid the external world. So it's a little bit like going into hermit mode. And the sixth house is fantastic for organization. It's almost like Mars and Virgo. It gets you into a structure. This is the way love could impact you. It's like, okay, I've been doing these things. I've been picking up the pieces, but has this been helping me? Has it been affecting my psyche? These are the subject matters that are a potential, but Chiron will not go retrograde until the 23rd. So we may feel like, a duck out of water dealing with these things as the North Node comes in. We'll have between the 12th and the 23rd before this energy goes retrograde, where we can really critique it and go, okay, how can I navigate my life moving forward? What am I dreaming? What am I thinking? Am I believing in myself? Am I having confidence with these new beginnings? Is it okay to change your routine and to feel it's stagnant? Am I doing other people's work? These can be some big questions that are coming up for you. Now, spiritually inside of your romance house, this is a big one for your zodiac sign. Because of where Pluto is and the Capricorn moon. The South Node coming out can be blast from the past coming back. And I really have been saying, gosh, everyone's been kind of fearing and looking forward to Venus retrograde. But the one thing in the sky we're not looking to is the fact that Pluto has been in its totality, will be there for 20 years in the same zodiac sign. And it does really link to people of the past. It's in its retrograde at the critical degree point. I would be surprised if anybody hasn't said, gee, I've really been thinking about circumstances of the past, people, places, and things. Could have been old jobs, could have been old pets, could have been, old kind of things that you had with love, or the direct individuals coming back, single or couple. None of us are going to be immune. Deep secrets, deep revelations, exposure of situations, especially with Mars and Leo, and with the fact that we do have Venus in Leo. Lots of belief systems surrounding love are really going to be shaken up. And because you are a Venus sign, we have some key areas in your chart that are really lit up like a Christmas tree. A is your first house. Your image is going to be changing. Your feelings towards yourself are going to be changing. Sometimes you can feel overwhelmed. Universe, theoretically, will never give you anything you can't handle, but you are going to have more opportunities. And some of you can be directly upskilling at this point in time. But I spiritually feel you could be looking to your future and saying, where is that location? Am I in stagnancy? For both singles and couples, you are going to feel this quite intensely. You also may feel as though you are ripping things down to build them back up again. I would say this is going to be a very deep time. Old feelings from the past are going to resurface. I also feel this can be pressure points relating to love, friendship groups, responsibility. Some of you are going to have an opportunity to take on more responsibility. I also feel energy surrounding you could be increasing. It's almost like your circle is increasing, which is very positive. For some of you, if you were going through a separation, this would have been an old situation. It can come to a close by the Capricorn moon. This could have been filing for divorce, ending a situation. Others of you, there could be a renegotiation of the terms inside either a romantic connection or a partnership. I do feel some of you also could have a changing relationship surrounding siblings and family members. I do particularly feel you may need to be cautious because there is slight chances of pregnancies if that is something that you're not looking for. I do feel the point that you need to be careful for this month. It can be hot and heavy and very passionate. I definitely feel for those of you that have children, you can be quite assertive. I do feel you may need to listen before reacting. You may need to calm down. This could have been a problem where you could see both sides of the story, but I directly feel it's more to do with the circumstance that's going to play out this month. Yeah, cross energy, heated energy. I do feel you're critically looking at the protection and the safety of both love, romance. I'm also being told to tell you to be careful of your safety when dining. So if you're going out on the town, if you're socializing, if you're, really check in with things. Some of you also could be supporting an individual, maybe that is going through a hard time. Be very selective how you deal with circumstances because during this Venus retrograde, we may get entwined in other people's drama. I do feel this month there can be some value pulls, but this can be sudden changes very drastically in love that happen at an absolute drop of a hat. And I feel this is really kicking off in the first 2 weeks. Be cautious of anger mid-month and definitely a major conversation or gossip coming through from the 28th. Your career zone. Look, lots of opportunities for extra responsibility projects, even for those of you that are directly wanting to maybe start a business. This could be a time you're looking back to some of those plans, but I do feel the key to it is going to be keeping things secret, really choosing who you trust with explaining these things too. And I do think for those of you working in a particular industry, if you really feel the situation hasn't resonated with you for a long time, and especially if it came through over the last 2 months, you might want to get on that in the first 2 weeks because after that, the best window would be from September. This can be because of Venus retrograde, and you may not know quite what you're going to be getting. The other thing is, really, when retrogrades happen in a contract house, Pluto had been really nagging you to make some shifts. If you were having that inkling and you had started taking those direct steps, especially by a previous eclipse in Scorpio, more than likely your ship is already sailing. If you haven't and it's been left, there is a window where, the reevaluation of this and the remapping of it with both Saturn and Neptune retrograde is actually going to aid you to get all the details in order. I do directly feel those of you actually running a business, this could be home-based, this could be the environment. I do feel the way you are building it can be changing. The way you're running it can be changing. This also could be facelifts of websites, changes in what you're offering, changes in staff. The key area to be careful of will be that Capricorn moon, which is, let's go back, on the 3rd of July. And I would say really from the beginning of the month till about a week to 2 weeks after, that vibration will continue. I also feel some of you have generated a new income stream. And if that is something that you're being looking towards, I do feel last month's new moon in Gemini was really bringing that signature up. I do feel some of you are going to be purchasing new technology. This could be in the monetary area of things. There could be purchases relating to technology, definitely upgrades around the home. This can be beautifying, clearing, cleaning. This also could be the fact that not to go to extremes with the budget, especially, Venus retrograde also can be where we go and do things that are really fun. The risk is, and what I have noticed, not that it's a Mercury retrograde. However, that will come. We just had, most recently, we did have Mercury retrograde in Taurus. We now are having Venus going retrograde. Be careful of fun rides, joy rides, skydiving. Those are things during Venus retrograde where things can go a bit pear-shaped. So be very selective and cautious of safety during this time. I do particularly feel, especially if you're wanting to get rid of things that you just don't resonate with, there's going to be a massive, it's almost like I see you clearing things out to bring new things in. What do I keep? What do I throw? I feel you're compartmentalizing. Utilize that and actually to help you generate more coming in. I definitely feel you will be having more coming in. I also feel your social crowd is going to be increasing. Okay, some of you, if you have really been investing, I do directly feel there could have been a signature that came up towards you, and you might have had that penny pinch, especially last month. I do directly feel it's this month that you're going to get really real with your budget, and you're going to be really restructuring it. But this can be quite goal orientated. Some of you also may go up the ladder at work, and during the retrograde, you're really trying to get back on track. This also can ease things, especially where it does come to career. It can ease circumstances, but at a social level, a lot of people from the past can be coming back. So entertaining may be very high on the agenda. Just keep an eye on the pennies through this, because we might bite off a little bit more than we can chew. Now, in your health domain, as I mentioned, Chiron moving retrograde can tend to make us slightly more susceptible to becoming run down. So really eating the food groups that are healthy. The other risk you do have is because Jupiter is in your sign, your appetite may really increase during this time, and it is there for a whole year. So as I mentioned, one of the tips to give you was really transitioning that Jupiter energy into, this could be projects, horizons, other things, just other things other than self. And wearing loose clothes can actually counteract it. You definitely going to crave more spice and flavor, can be foreign cuisine. You also can be attracting individuals from foreign cultures. You may be going back into your value system and seeing whether a person needs to be exactly the same as you, or in fact, does it make it more balanced if they aren't? So again, Venus retrograde is going to give you some very unique things. I would say if you feel something is off, especially on the lower part of your body, definitely get it checked. We can tend to find with transits, it's more so in your fourth house. So this can be subjects to do with your mother coming up. If we have higher heart chakra and we have pre-existing situations, especially between now and September and October, get it checked right away. Don't pause. Anything off and you're just brushing it off, not a good time. Okay. You want to really be quite vigilant. We may see in the media individuals, of various types of individuals with subjects to do with heart coming up. That's because Leo and Virgo and Chiron all connect to heart and higher heart chakra. So it's about looking after that, eating food groups to support that, being in awareness. So if you think something's off, go and seek a professional, okay? Use your due diligence. I do feel this is a great time that if we are actually navigating our life and finding that something of a pressure point is there, we can be reflecting upon different ways to restructure our life so we can handle that stress. This could be anything down to better time management, looking at things differently, eliminating things for our life that isn't working. Pisces also, in particular positions, can actually make us in transits use pacifiers. And this can be to handle our stress. These can be old habits coming back, especially with Venus retrograde. So pay attention to that. Is it one too many after work? Is it going to extremities in any area? And what is it really showing us? Is it something else going on? And so we're directly using that situation in a pacifier sense to cope with the stress. These planets retrograde will aid you in kicking habits, which is fantastic, but they can also bring them back, especially if what we're not directly dealing with is the stress that's causing such. Love and light. I will see you next month for the update. If you do need a personal booking, you can go to the link directly below. Look after yourselves and tell me how this lands.